Dabo Swinney, he's not using the transfer portal. And unless something changes, he's not going to use the transfer portal. So get over it. Welcome to Clemson Football Live. I'm glad you're here. Oh, man. This is like a turd circling the toilet. It's just something to talk about. Everybody's talking about all the time. And it's just here again. There were some comments made by Dabo Swinney over the past day or so. Everybody's talking about it today. I'm going to talk about it in just a second. Welcome to the channel. I'm Brian. I hope you like what I'm doing. If you don't, and you just like to tune in because you hate the look on my face, appreciate it. Hope you'll subscribe. It's free. It's a great way to support the channel. Also, if you want to support on a monthly basis, there's a join button below. So here we go. So Swinney, once again for the 9,000th time, was asked about the transfer portal. And he made a comment. He said, well, this is via, 24/7 Sports. Well, it wasn't really necessarily like an intentional thing of like whether he's using the transfer portal or not. Remember, Clemson has not taken a transfer player, and the only other teams not to do that is Army, Navy, and Air Force. And we know why Army, Navy, and Air Force is not taking transfers because, well, they're military schools, and unless something has changed, if you go play at Army, Navy, and Air Force, correct me if I'm wrong, I want to be corrected here. If you play there for a certain amount of time or over an allotted time at these institutes, you actually have to serve in some form. It doesn't mean you're going to be on the front line, shooting terrorists, but most likely you're going to have to serve in some form. Correct me if I'm wrong there. But Swinney said, well, it wasn't really necessarily like an intentional thing. There were a couple of guys we looked at. They got to love you too. He said that before. That's the other part of it. And honestly, every player is technically, okay. Swinney, I appreciate what you've done at Clemson, but this is one of those things, and I'm a guy who puts my foot in my mouth all the time. I really wished you hadn't said this. And honestly, every player is technically a transfer player. We just signed a whole class of guys transferring from high school. So we like our guys. We like our starters. Coach Swinney, I wished you hadn't said that. They're not transferring. There's nowhere else for them to go except maybe the XFL. I don't know, UFL, whatever they're calling it these days. I know you're being funny there, and that's fine, but, anyway. But everybody just like absolutely loses their mind over this. And every flipping site I turn on with people I respect, and then people I really don't respect them. I don't care if they played ball. Don't care if they coached. They just have a terrible opinion. An absolute terrible opinion. People who are quote unquote insiders, who basically parrot what people on the inside of these organizations tell them to say. By the way, I have a really good source. Do they work for Clemson? Well, yeah. They do. Well, then you're probably parakeeting something that they were told to get the message out and about. That's what a lot of us don't think about too many times when you're dealing with, quote unquote, this guy's an insider, this guy is not an insider. Well, a lot of them, and I have friends and people I connect with all the time who they do have some great connections at these schools. What's funny is most of the time, not taken away from them, just most of the time, it's stuff that we already know or we have a pretty good idea is going on. But with all of that kind of semi-rambling said, and just getting back to the title of this video, Swinney's not going to take a transfer. He's not. He's not going to do it. I don't think that we need to go out and take a bunch of transfers, supplementary players, absolutely. Would I like for us to go after someone like Riley Leonard, the quarterback that was at Duke? Or go after Grayson McCall? Sure. Because our quarterback room does not look good now. It doesn't. I know Coach Swinney says he likes our quarterback room. I have no clue why he likes our quarterback room right now. It does not look like someone who's ready to play Georgia on August the 31st. Oh, by the way, that's in 3 months and 2 weeks. All right? We're only like 4 weeks, or not 4 weeks. We're about 5 weeks. I can't count. Who cares? It's been just a little over a month since that spring game, spring scrimmage that everybody wants to stick their head in the ground and say, oh, that doesn't matter. I know the past 2 spring games accurately predicted to a T what was going to happen the following season, but hey, we don't learn from history. No way, that's not going to happen on my watch. I love Coach Swinney, but I think he's wrong. I don't care if it is his team. I really think that he's wrong about our quarterback situation. But you know what? It is his team. It is Dabo Swinney's team. And with that said, if we all come to the realization that he's not going to take someone from the transfer portal, we can move on to the actual issue. What has caused the great demise of Clemson? Which, by the way, I'll have to agree with an article I read. It was in Outkick. This morning I was logging on just to find out if everything was going good in Tigerville. See if there was any rumors going on. If Sammy Brown's hair had jumped off his head and transferred to, I don't know, Colorado or something. Sammy Brown would be weird bald, wouldn't he? Like after having that hair. Anyway, back on topic, Brian. Back on topic. But I read this article in Outkick, and it said Clemson 9-4 for them is terrible. Yes, you are correct. The expectations has been raised at Clemson so much that 9-4 is terrible. Now, I have said that last year we didn't have to lose the games like we did. A loss is bad, but it's a little more palatable if you can look at the way you lost. Did you lose due to the other team just outplayed you? Or did you lose because poor development? Some people, I've even coined the phrase coaching malfeasance. If that's the case, you've got a whole other problem. So the problem that has happened with Clemson is that the metrics or the qualifications to be hired as a defensive coach at Clemson versus the qualifications to be hired as an offensive coach at Clemson until Matt Luke was hired, that is the problem. The defensive coaches, most of them, not all of them, most of them has had multiple stops with worthwhile coaching experience. On the offensive side of the ball, until Matt Luke got there, you have a very young, considering versus other coaches, you have a young Garrett Riley and a bunch of guys who's barely coached before and some of them never coached before. That's what happened to Clemson football. This transfer portal thing is, once again, I've done this on a few of my videos, but I'm going to do it again just to get it across, is just a parakeet issue. What do I mean by that? Somebody over here says Dabo Swinney should use the transfer portal. Dabo Swinney. Then it goes to another person. Dabo Swinney. Yeah, Dabo. That's the reason. That's the reason. Hey, Jim, you're a former All-American. What do you think? Well, he's got to use that portal. Got to use that portal. Got to ask Mr. Insider over here, who's on the sidelines for all these different games and stuff. Everybody sees them. They see the same thing, hear the same thing we do, but over here, hey, what do you think? Yeah, Dabo's got to start using that portal. Maybe not a lot, but at least some. And then all of a sudden, it's got to use a portal, got to use a portal. They're all saying the same things. Demise of Clemson. The demise for Clemson is the requirements to coach defense is totally different than the requirements to coach offense. I will die on that hill. I will. It's logical. History proves me right. Our defense still plays pretty doggone good. And the only time they do bad is when they're tired. Us humans get tired. So, he's not going to use the portal. Get over it. It's not going to happen, and that was not the demise of Clemson. The demise of Clemson, I just laid out what it is. Everybody, thank you so much for joining me. I'm going to stop in here and say hello to everyone here. Let's see. I got Droid132, Andrew Creel, good to see you. Indian Land, Stable, Carolina Jackpot. Carolina Jackpot's good to see you. Big Red, Joe Hughes, good to see you. Still Gamble, listen to me. Yeah. I mean, you're right, and it will do nothing. Everybody will hinge that on the transfer portal, and it's just, anyway. Thank you for supporting the channel, Still Gamble. You see that little symbol beside his name. That means that he supports on a monthly basis, $3 or $5 per month. Folks, I just want to tell you right now, I appreciate everyone who comes on here, watches the show, and supports it. I do appreciate it. Thank you so much. Thank you for supporting the channel, Still Gamble. Got Carolina Jackpot in here. Thomas Mills, it's good to see you as always. It's good to be a Tiger. Go Tigers.